thank you all for coming. I know that there's really, really great things going on right now, so I really want to thank all of you for making the time to come out to hear this presentation and this workshop, and I hope that this will be a valuable hour for all of you. I gave one to Tom since he was the first grade fellow in here, but I have 2 copies of a manual that goes in detail about some of the instructions. Well, I'll be very briefly covering today, so after the workshop, if you feel like you'd like some more in-depth information, feel free to grab one of these. If you want some more information, I have some links to some more resources and things like that. But maybe to start, what I wanted to do is actually just play a short 2-minute video just about a project we did last summer in Champaign-Urbana with some high school interns to just, I think, kind of encapsulates what I'm talking about when I say digital cultural heritage and why it matters. So I'm just going to start playing that short video. So hopefully this will sound all right. I'll just take the mic and put it by the speakers. And then after that presentation about what this all means based on a manual we put together on our experience in Champaign-Urbana. So I'm going to just go through some simple steps that you all can hopefully take away and use to help share local and family histories. So the big picture is that we know that people all around the world are using digital technologies to share intimate histories, local histories and family histories, using things like we heard today about Local Wiki, but also things like some of the other sites you see on the screen. Some of them are corporate, some of them are non-corporate, but we know that people are experimenting with different ways to share these types of information, so we know that it means a lot to people. So we need to keep thinking about what's going to really make it possible for people to share their stories online. And we know that public libraries are playing a big role. This is in both rural public libraries. So this is an example from a rural public library in Western Washington State, where they had just a digitization day where people could come in bringing text and photographs and even three-dimensional objects. And this was a public library that was very digitally divided. They didn't have, I think they just had, at that point, when they did this in 2009, I don't think they even had broadband at the time period when they were doing this. So it was, they were really trying to get people thinking about how new technology could be useful to them. And there's also urban projects. So this is the Denver Public Library. It has this Colorado Social Archive that launched recently. And they're trying to really think about how they can make it not just a digitization project where there's digital resources available online, but trying to make it more social, where they kind of pitch it as a Facebook type thing around local history in the Denver and Front Range region. So there's a lot of public libraries really experimenting with models to enhance what is a core library value. Libraries have been doing things with local history since the first libraries were founded in America, so this is a big part of public librarianship. And there's also the big part on genealogy. We know that, let me just ask, show of hands, does anyone in your family do genealogy or family history? No? I think just 4 is good. But we know that yeah, and I'm sure if you started poking around, you'd probably find family members you may not have met who are researching your family history and probably know about you, even if you don't know about them. But we know this is huge. I mean, just financially alone, the American online family history industry has been valued at generating $1.5 billion annually. So this is big business, and it's we talked a little bit about during this conference about what alternatives do we have to corporatization of information. So along that lines, I think we really have to pay attention to genealogy because we know that it's big and it shows no signs of abating. And then there's also everything related to ancestral genealogy, roots tourism, family reunions. We know people travel a lot to celebrate family history. So I'm going to be talking about both local and family history, and the two are closely connected because we know that once people start researching their family history, they then want to know more about the places where their families came from, where they grew up. In some cases, they end up moving back to ancestral homelands. So there's a lot to explore there. But on the other end, we know that a lot of our infrastructure for this is really behind the times. So this is a provocative point asking our county historical societies dinosaurs. We know that most counties in America have historical societies, and if you've ever visited some of these places, especially in rural areas, you know that they're really not at the cutting edge with digital technology. I know in Champaign-Urbana, they didn't even have a website for the Historical Society until about a year ago. And that's common for many places I know, and I know of a number of historical societies that don't even have internet connections in the building at all. So there's a big role here for, I think, public libraries to partner with historical societies and other entities. And there's a lot of people experimenting with new language. How do we describe this as some new heritage? These are terms that you may find if you start researching this area. So the theme of this workshop is that everyone can do something now to contribute to the construction of universal designs for sharing local and family histories. So that's kind of a mouthful, but what I really want to hopefully send you away with today is that you can do something to help people share local and family history. We know that this is something that means a great deal to many people. They may not think that history is, some people have this idea that history is George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and it has nothing to do with them. But we know that everyone has history, and many people want to share that history. I think everyone, especially when they're starting to reflect back on their life, they want to feel like they did something with their life, and they want to make sure that their story is known and passed down. So this is something that everyone can help with and find ways to use digital technology to help make this happen. So I think to help us think about this, I'm proposing that community informatics can help us think about this by thinking about what does it really mean to have a universal design for digital local and family history, and it's not it's just so democratic access to the equipment, obviously, digitization equipment, digital cameras, digital camcorders, things like that, software, training. We have to be able to know how to use all of this, and then finally servers. So it's kind of a tall order, but I think if we think about what we need to get there, we can maybe think about what skills and what resources do we have to offer to help the people around us do some things with this technology. So there's a lot to learn, but I just like saying that the best way to get started is to just jump in. Who are the people you know? Why their stories online? What can you do to help them share their stories? So I'm just going to very briefly, so I showed you the introductory video for our eBlack Champaign-Urbana project. So this is an online website, and we did, like I said, yearbook digitization. We've also done trying to integrate our digital library of African American history in Champaign-Urbana into physical spaces through things like, this was a poster that hung at a barbershop for about 9 months. We've done training classes for senior citizens where they both learned basic computing skills and helped identify photographs in our digital library. So these were the people who really knew what these photographs represented, but they were the ones who were least able to use the technology. So we kind of tried to combine digital heritage with basic technological literacy in a setting where they were comfortable, and this was in their church's basement. And we also had a big meeting to celebrate people who we call difference makers in 2010, people who had made a difference, who had an important historical impact on the community and celebrated their legacy by putting together a booklet and inviting them to a campus community symposium in 2010. And this last photo is just a picture of one of the ways that this project has kind of taken on legs of its own. In Urbana High School now, they're digitizing the Urbana yearbooks and the Urbana newsletters independent of our project. So we see this as a success story where some of the initiatives that we started have been started to be carried on independent of our kind of startup activities. So yeah, I mean, that's why I say it's good to just jump in and get started, because you may be surprised how things will develop based on the impacts you make in your communities and in your families. So I'm just going to jump through this really quickly, just for the sake of time, and say that out of this project in Champaign-Urbana, we developed this community history digitization manual, and it's completely online at that website. I can pass this around. This is just a short little flyer you can have that has the URL. And it also just has the basic steps that we kind of use to break down the process of local and family history digitization. So what I'm going to talk about now is, well, actually I'm going to ask for you to talk about this. So I've given you kind of a background on where I come from, what some of my goals and visions are, and now I want to really hear from you. And I think, Tom, I'll start with you. Could you just introduce yourself and maybe say a few words about what brings you here today?
I'm Tom McMahon. I work at Northwestern University Library. There's a passing interest in kind of following digital, local, cultural history and the kind of things we're talking about. I'm involved in for a project where John has done some extensive research over the last 5 years. He's a senior citizen himself, so he's not very digitally literate, but he has a massive amount of biographical data, information about the history of Jewish culture in Chicago from the founding of the city through World War I. And so we are in the process of implementing a digital history project that tries to record and disseminate in a digestible way this information that he's
Thank you. Paulo?
Hey everyone, I'm Paulo Gavilde. I'm a librarian at Robert Morris University. I'm actually here because part of it is that we're a very small university, and we are looking at possibly working on our archives and putting up stuff, digitized some materials. And I don't know if this can be applied in a university setting.
Yeah.
We might come into some issues with copyright and all of those things. So, but yeah, I'm definitely here to learn about it.
Okay, great.
Can we make just a bigger circle since we had a couple of people sit down there?
I'm a faculty at the Graduate School of Social at Dominican University. I'm really interested in digitization in the sense that I'd like my students to experience this so that they can work with their clients, use this as a tool for their work social practice.
I'm Bill Pardue. I'm also from Arlington Heights, and the word they're using around town for that is the quasi-centennial, 25 years. And we've previously been involved in the content DM-based project for local history through the West Suburban Library System, that's kind of gone by the wayside. But it's just kind of an opportunity to catch up on sort of what's the state of the art now for digitization projects, especially now that it being open to sort of community involvement.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Josephine Robinson. I'm interested in the whole issue of African American history and looking at just trying to figure out different ways that I can work with young people, as well as looking at community history and family history. So that's what I'm planning.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm from the Chicago Public Library at the Chinatown branch. I'm a cyber navigator, and I think that this is very important for them to actually know that this is available. Like a lot of things do need to be digitized, as you said. They do have access to it, but a lot of it isn't translated. So that's another thing that we should definitely work on, and cultural understanding too.
I'm John Spears. I'm from the Naperville Public Library, and we work with the Neighbor Settlement on a digitization project through the state library that also uses Content DM. One of the things that we're looking at is moving beyond just our partnership with the Neighbor Settlement, and we've been in conversations with the school districts in Naperville, District 203 and 204. We were really looking at the yearbooks. We're looking at, they do a lot yearly in the arts with producing physical works of art, musical compositions, and those aren't being saved anywhere. And so we would like to work with them to actually do some type of digitization project where those can be maintained for years to come.
Great, great.
My name is Kate Williams, and I think what I want to contribute is we were talking about lunch about how the Google digitization project has kind of pulled the plug on a lot of partnerships it had with libraries, and I think that we are at a moment where the .coms or the venture capital funded projects are at risk, right? They can disappear without us realizing it, and all the resources that have gone up there can disappear. And we really are having to say, well, is the next mass digitization project going to come from the community rather than from whoever gets the next venture capital grant or venture capital money? I think the other thing I want to say is that as soon as I found Local Wiki, I went to Denton Wiki, and my great-grandfather was in Denton, was a sheriff in Denton. But he did something positive, which was stop lynchings, and so I went there and added a page for Charles Alexander Williams, which is still up there on the Denton Wiki, and that just sold me on the sort of post-Wikipedia wiki, which is that much more simple, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really interested to see what we can do, because I think next year in Chicago, I almost feel like calling you all want to come and say, well, here's what we've done in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to keep everybody going, is to be linked up and not feel like you're toiling in the wilderness by yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's an excellent point. I think.
That's ours. We talk about.
Oh. That's an excellent point. I mean, sometimes I think mistakenly believe that corporate projects have more legs than kind of a mom and pop startup, and that's. I mean, I think that's unfortunate. I mean, just one example. There was a company that I can't remember the name, but it emerged in 2005, and its idea was. This is kind of morbid, but the idea was that you could write a letter to a loved one that would not be sent to those loved ones until you passed away. So it wasn't an extremely successful company, but a number of people did take advantage of the service. And then 4 years after it started, the company completely collapsed. So I don't know if these letters that people had written as kind of like final wills and testaments, if they just completely disappeared with the company. It's unclear what happened. It looks like probably people just lost information that they had expected would be passed on to their loved ones upon their passing. And we see more of that type of thing on things like Ancestry.com and some of the other big companies that are really catering to this market that people want to pass on their legacy. So we really need to think really hard and long and hard about what we can do to get around this. And a couple, our public librarians mentioned the Illinois Digital Archive, which is run by the Illinois State Library. And that's another really great project. Unfortunately, the funding for that has been almost completely cut. It was driven by LSTA funding, which no longer exists for digital imaging grants. So they are maintaining it, but it's no. So this is a time of kind of market expansion and at the same time contraction of public funding. So this is kind of a hard time to really get something going. But I think we can hopefully out of this workshop we can think about how we can use the resources that we do have available to really make things happen. So what I'm going to start. So these are photos we've done workshops like this one at different places around Illinois and around the Midwest, and these are just some photographs from our different workshops. Most of the workshops were day-long workshops, or a little bit longer than this one. You're kind of getting the contracted version today, but I hope that it'll still be useful to all of you. So what I'm going to really talk about now, and we'll break into some discussions in a minute, is the steps that we've kind of put together to help people think about how to do digital local and family history. So the first thing I want to emphasize is that we start with, before we even start about digital technology, we have to talk about getting organized. So the first two steps don't really have anything to do with digital technology. It's about people and information. So we have to think first about who and what before we think about how. So for getting organized, I'd like to talk about how you can think about resources and break that down into 4 categories. We have technical resources, of course things like laptops, human resources. Those are things like people in our communities who know how to use the technical equipment that we have available, financial resources, money, and then social resources, and that's the most important resource, because that's the ability or willingness of people to come and volunteer their time. So your example of social resources. I imagine that none of you are being paid to come listen to me. So this is an example of a social resource in action. So let me just let's start by maybe I won't ask all of you to say anything, but since it sounds like some of you already have some projects in mind that you've been thinking about, and so let's just start. I wanna pose a question to you. What's already happening around the histories that you're interested in? It sounds like and I think that Arlington Public Library is a good example where people were already interested in local history because of this 125th anniversary. So let me just ask you, what are some of the activities you know that are already kind of in the works? And then maybe I'd ask you if you could just maybe brainstorm, and we can help you brainstorm about how you think you could use some digital technologies to kind of enhance or help document some of the activities that you anticipate occurring with your 125th anniversary. So, one of you want to maybe just start by saying a little bit about what are some of the activities that you know are going to happen with the 125th anniversary?
I know my main responsibility is going to be helping some of the residents tell their stories. I know a lot of that's going to revolve around scanning old photos, digitizing them. But I wanted to maybe do a feature story or two, and do a video, maybe interview them, and do some particular stories. We haven't really gotten into the specifics of the project yet, but that's kind of what mainly I'll be working on.
But what do you have a sense of what more generally beyond your particular responsibility? What are some of the activities that are going to go on in your community during this anniversary?
That I'm not as knowledgeable on.
I'm just, I'm just getting a sense of, there's actually a committee in the town. I'm not personally on that, but somebody in the cubicle next to me. We have a local history genealogy specialist who's very involved with this, and I think the part that we're sort of, the library's involved in is, we're going to start promoting the, what's the name for our portion of it? It's the Home Sweet Home Initiative. And it's going to be invited, I think mainly we're looking essentially for pictures of significant buildings. Is that the homes and buildings especially?
Or just I'm not sure.
Yeah. Once again, you're not exactly asking the best people, and Alex, to be fair to him, is recently hired by the library, and it's all sort of coming to him as we go. But so there's a large planning process that's going on throughout the entire community, and our portion of it is going to be this Home Sweet Home project. I think one of my concerns is, especially since I know a lot of people are feeling the pain of kind of the loss of the Illinois Digital Archives, there were two big issues that came out of that. One was, that really was funnel everything through the library, through your local resource, and to just the barriers to using Content DM are significant, because the output, you've got extremely detailed metadata, etc., but there's a barrier for the average person to use that. The other thing is, because of certain technical problems that happened in the history of that project, I see a nod of recognition there, I become very concerned about the portability of what's in that. That project is married forever to Content DM, especially for complex documents. And I think what I'd like to see coming out of a discussion about this is, how do we plan for, okay, if we're putting video, what's the best way to make sure we've got portability to the next type of resource, if we ever have to evolve to the next platform. It's hard to get out of Content DM, so those are kind of married to that forever. But if we, how do we want to plan for that kind of thing?
Yeah, and maybe the more general question to kind of ask is, when we're doing digital local or family history, what plans do we have in place to ensure that whatever we're doing is going to have some life beyond the energy we put into it? I don't think anyone is interested in doing projects that are going to disappear, to go offline after we do them. So, I mean, that's a major question. And there's no easy answer to that question, but I think with open source software, it is a lot more easier to move things around really quickly. And I'm going to jump around a little bit in this workshop just for the sake of time, but the main platform that we use in eLab CU is something that's called Omeka. So this is, I want to make sure that I have enough time to say a little bit about Omeka since we are pressed for time. But Omeka is an open source content management system started by George Mason University Center for History and New Media. So this is similar to Local Wiki. It's kind of an open source software that's extremely easy. It's very, very portable in terms of it's very easy to get everything in the digital library out of Omeka and move it to some other content management system if you wanted to do so, or to update to the latest version. And in terms of installation, it's probably one of the easiest content management systems out there to install. I know when I've done this workshop with people who are kind of the IT specialists at their organizations and talk about the installation of Omeka, they said this is much easier than installing things like Drupal or other content management systems that you may be familiar with. Basically, you just need to have some server space where you can upload it to, and within maybe an hour to an hour and a half, you'll have a digital library that's up and going. And if the idea of, go ahead.
Does it run on a Linux server or Windows server or what?
I think it runs on, I think it does require a Linux server. Yeah, it does require a Linux server, so you have to have a Linux server or a web hosted server space that you can upload it to. But if all this is kind of intimidating you, if you're feeling like you're kind of ready to leave the room out of all of this, we heard this morning that the Local Wiki project is starting to explore the possibility of making a cloud version of Local Wiki to support people who are intimidated by the idea of actually maintaining the server. So the Center for History and New Media at George Mason University has already started a cloud-based version of Omeka. So you can start an Omeka digital library at their cloud-based version, and it's free for up to 500 megabytes and one digital exhibit, and then there's different cost-based versions. And this is a non-profit model. This is not a venture capital private initiative. They basically need to charge for larger server spaces just to maintain their servers. But it is a university-based nonprofit model. So if you're intimidated by the idea of servers actually maintaining the server using file transfer protocol, if you feel like that's just out of your depth at the current moment, you can get started by using omeka.net. In the actual administrative interface on omeka.net is identical to the server-based Omeka. So if you use omeka.net, you try some things out, maybe you start a little digital library, and you find, hey, this is quite handy. I'd like to do something more advanced, more complex. You can pretty easily switch over to the server-based version without too much hassle. So it's good. I think this cloud version is kind of a nice way to try some things out. And you can literally have an account set up in about 5 minutes. You just enter your email address. And if you have some photographs or things you'd like to try just as a test bed, you can get something going pretty simply. So this is in terms of digital library software. I think this is one of the better ones out there, and they've really tried to go the extra mile to make it easy and accessible for people who are not tech wizards. The downside of that is that it does have some technical limitations. There are some constraints that you may not experience in more robust digital libraries. So it is kind of something that they've dumbed down a little bit to make it easy for people to use. You may not be able to do as much with Omeka as you could do with something with Drupal. But so there's kind of you have to decide where you're at. There's some trade-offs between robust functionality versus ease of use, and Omeka goes more for ease of use. So let me just show you an example of how a site is actually using Omeka. And I can show you our eBlackView site, but I actually want to show you this Hurricane Digital Memory Bank. This is something where they brought together, we knew that in the wake of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, that people all around the country refugees were moving to throughout the Midwest and the Mid-South and Texas. You had community-based organizations, arts organizations. There was a lot of attempts to document what was happening on the ground. So these are just, so they did this site and they brought together, I think it's about 50 different collections from different places around the country. So this is, this was just, this is, and this includes both institutional projects and just individual projects. So this one right here is just someone personally took photographs of kind of some of the damage and some of the images of how what the damage looked like around Biloxi and Alabama. There's also things like oral histories. Yeah, so this one has 145 oral histories collected by a community college. So this is something where it wasn't a major university, but it was actually a community college initiative that didn't feel like they had the skills at this small community college to really get a robust digital library going. But through partnering with this larger initiative, they were able to do more than they could do just by themselves. And you see prominently this little button over here, add to the memory bank, and then you can just pretty easily just put your contribution in. Now we got, and our side of people actually have taken advantage of using the same digital library software, and we also have information that's coming from different local sources, from different archives and private collections, and we also have the ability to allow people to contribute information to the website. So that's another thing that's quite good about Omeka is that it's easy to set something up to allow user contributions if you want to have that be part of your digital library initiative. So so I wanted to, I've kind of gone ahead of myself, but I wanted to make sure I had time to explain a little bit about Omeka, just because if you are looking at one thing that you came today was trying to get at least one site that you can go home and try out if you have a specific project in mind that you took this away. Is there any questions about Omeka that I can try to answer based on any projects you're thinking about developing?
So can you upload different kind of files, like audio, video?
Yes, and one of the good things about Omeka is that if you upload MP3s, the software automatically converts it into a streaming file, so you don't need to. So if you upload an MP3, it'll automatically just stream in the browser without you having to do anything beyond just merely uploading it to the content management system. Videos, I haven't installed the latest version of Omeka, but with videos, I use something called JW Player, which is an open source thing you can just install on your server, and that'll enable you to stream videos on your website without having to just upload through YouTube, which is, so if you want to avoid YouTube, you can use something like JW Player to enable your digital library to have streaming videos as well. And I mean, it's really quite quick. I mean, I could just give you one example. We got a DVD from a community member that had a video of a public access television from the early 1980s where they had an interview with a now deceased civil rights activist. So I was able to get the video off the DVD, convert it to Flash, and upload it to the website, and it was streaming within maybe half an hour of the DVD being given to me. So after you've kind of worked your way around the technical issues, that you can get things up and online with pretty quick speed with Omeka, and you have a lot of flexibility that you're not tied down in the way you are with Content DM or the Illinois Digital Archive. You're in control, which can both be liberating and terrifying. So I mean, I know so now I've kind of gone forward. Now I want to take a step back, just to go back. So to get something like this going, you have to think about what can you get organized to make this happen. So maybe it sounds like in Arlington Heights we have this new librarian who's going to invest some digital know-how into this 125th anniversary, but you're not as familiar with the area as perhaps some of the does anyone have any advice for this young man, maybe based on your experiences of what he could do to try to make this 125th anniversary be bring digital Arlington Heights alive? There you go.
Well, I really appreciated what Phil was saying in the first session this morning when he really put the social challenges on the same footing as the technical. And from watching and in some ways being part of eBlackCU unfolding, I would say that there was it was like that for eBlackCU. It was one half community organizing and the other half technical getting things together. And by either creating or riding the waves of energy in the community, that was how eBlackCU got built. So holding that Difference Makers event, which brought all those people to our school for that photo and for discussions and for getting some honor, getting some respect, that's part of what helped to propel eBlackCU. So it seems to me that it's almost like there are things going on in the community that you can ride if you go out there with your video camera and a tripod, or just begin to do as much outreach as you can, along with spending time in the cubicle. Right? But if you're only in the cubicle, you're way too isolated, and you're not going to find the shortcuts that are out there. People who already have video that they want to have included, or someone who actually wants to volunteer with you every Saturday, or so on and so forth. And I know that Skokie is like a shining example of this. Skokie Library. And Fran's thing is she's at almost every community meeting in Skokie. So people know Fran, and she's like famous now. Whatever Fran does, people pay attention to. And Arlington has such a strength because you've got Richard and you've got the two of you, and I don't know who else you have, but you have the capacity to do that kind of social aspect, community organizing aspect of library building as well as the technical.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great. And if I could just follow up on that, and I think, yeah, I mean, our Difference Makers, inviting people, honoring them with kind of a booklet that features short biographies of their lives and their accomplishments was something that really caught people's attention. And you can really, by doing something like that, kind of like some kind of collective biography booklet or collective biography website, you can combine local and family history. I've also been working with our local chapter of the National Council of Negro Women to help them digitize their archives. And one of their most successful fundraisers they have every year is something they call Living Legends, where they celebrate African American women over the age of 80. And every year they celebrate maybe 5 or 6 people. And it's a huge fundraiser because those living legends don't just come themselves, they bring their huge extended families with them. So the room just is completely full. So by doing that, some kind of thing where you focus on people, especially prominent or people who are well known in the community, you can combine local history, which may be your passion, with the family history that we know is so important to so many people. So that's I know that's been really successful for the National Council of Negro Women, and it's also been successful for us as well. So I think that's really where you can really make things happen when you really find a way to bridge local and family history and make them kind of come alive together. And that kind of brings us to this question of when we're talking about local and family history information, what is the information? And it's important to recognize, some of you may already have some collections you'd like to digitize, but you also have to recognize that local and family history is everywhere. It exists in the memory of every single citizen. We know from folklorists, folklorists sometimes will interview not the oldest member of a family, but they'll interview a 5 or 6 year old, because that 5 or 6 year old, just from growing up, will have some he or she, the little child, may know some folk songs or some folk practices that you could only capture from youth. So every single person has a piece of local culture and local memory. So I'd encourage you to think broadly about what you're defining as the universe of information around local and family history. So that can be a little bit daunting. So you have to both start broadly and then start thinking pragmatically about, within this universe of information, what can I do, and what's really going to be something that's going to have an impact. really want to hear from you. Are there stories online? Are some people in your social network starting to share information about local or family history, maybe through Facebook or maybe Flickr or digital libraries? What are some of the ways that the people that you know are trying to share information? Does anyone have an example they may want to share? Well, let me ask you, are any of you members of these Facebook groups you grew up in? Is anyone familiar with these? Yeah. Let's hear from Sophia.
So there's a lot of these groups. They have a long list of, did you go to the school? I went to Mark Sheridan Academy, an elementary school. And then as a kid, what did you do? Like, were you that kid that drew hopscotch on your playground? Stuff like that, like a whole long list. And if I fit into any of those categories, I go and add myself as a group member. I think it's a lot of fun just to know that you belong somewhere. But then at the same time, only our generation really does it. Like older generations, like my parents, not join groups like that. They think, what is the point of this? This is just for they feel that it's not important. But I think there's other groups that we should also create where parents would be interested in or adults would be interested in, like more it's just different topics. But I'm still not sure what these are yet. So I don't know if anybody wants to talk about Facebook and their groups.
Yeah, I know. And this may in part reflect the fact that we're a college town, but I know in Champaign-Urbana, a lot of people are really using Facebook for local and family history. I know people who have used Facebook to help organize family reunions and share photographs in anticipation of family reunions, organize who's gonna bring what casseroles, things like that. And this is just you grew up in Champaign-Urbana group, which has now almost 4,500 members. And it's pretty active in terms of sharing things about local history. It's kind of like back and forth. Someone will post a topic and someone will respond to that. So this is, I think, if when local wiki hopefully becomes more ubiquitous, hopefully this will be the type of social activity around sharing just small pieces of information. Hopefully that'll become more common through things like local wiki, maybe even family wiki, something like that. So I've thought a lot about these Facebook groups, and we know that they're at least in some places, in some communities, they're quite popular and quite dynamic. So when you think about doing digital local and family history, you really have to kind of you need to do your homework before you start. Basically, you have to know what's already happening. How are people sharing information? Is there any other ways besides Facebook that maybe people in your local communities or people in the groups that you're interested in reaching with this information are using technology to share information? I don't know, Tom, do you have any sense of how either people interested in Chicago's Jewish history that are sharing some of this information online? Do you know of any of that type of activity?
We don't, and one of the angles I kind of brought to the project is that we need to get this kind of thing online because the gentleman who's the prime mover behind this project is, as I said, a senior citizen. Is a senior citizen, and he himself is not incredibly digitally literate, and a lot of the people in his peer group who would be interested in the output of this project as well as potentially having input into this project are themselves also not as digitally literate as to a level that would make it very easy for us to make it online. So that's one of the challenges I'm trying to deal with in my development of the project right now.
Paul, you know with your university, universities obviously were the first adapters of Facebook. If people are using Facebook or other ways to kind of like alumni sharing history around school?
We did try it. I think we do have a Facebook page that I started a year or two ago, but keeping up with it is really the biggest problem. Is keeping up with updating anything on Facebook or any other social media networks that we're using. It's probably one of the biggest thing, and I think at some point you probably will need a person just doing the social media, or basically just in charge of doing, outreach and social media. I mean, I couldn't keep up with it, and we only have Facebook and a Flickr one just specifically for a particular digital photography project. And other than that, we don't have anything else.
Adrian, do you have any reflections on how you think maybe some of this could be useful to your students, or what obstacles you may see as an educator?
I'm thinking of why the need for digitization in terms of an organization's histories. So I think a lot of the students are in local social service organizations, which may or may not have a website. So I think that might be the angle around it to sort of help the administrators build, history.
Yeah. And I mean, there is the bottom line argument as well. I mean, if this is a historic social service agency, I mean, history does sell. I mean, as someone interested in archives, I do follow trends in corporate archives. And the main reason why corporations have archives is that they use that history as a marketing tool. So the social service agencies that are kind of under threat, especially if they have history, that they've done historic accomplishments that have made substantial impacts, being able to share and broadcast that history online can be a bottom line motivation to try to get some things going. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously the mental health benefits of being able to see one's history and the history of one's loved ones, but there's also, for an administrative unit, there's the bottom line argument of history does sell. I mean, it has financial benefits as well. Mrs. Robertson, maybe do you have any reflections on some of the things we've talked about?
Just kind of, it's all new, but I think it's something from the start, because I think one of the things that I'm finding I work with young people, and they have sometimes no sense of their history and how it connects. So I think it's a way for them to connect to the community, and how we can use, the whole issue of the internet and computers, because they love computers and they only use it to play games or do other things. And this might be an opportunity for them to maybe basically interview their grandparents or their parents in terms of similarities and stuff. Because just got finished reading a great book about the Great Migration and what it did for the African American community. And also I work with Hispanic students, and also the similarities with immigration and the migration. And I don't think we think about that. So I think there's just, and looking at computers and getting them to digitize and work on that, I think it's just, I'm thinking about a lot of ways it can make computers be really learning. They can be uploaders and not just downloaders. And I think that's what teenagers are now. They just kind of go and so the potential, I kind of just all over the place in terms of what might be like.
Yeah, no, I mean that's wonderful too, and I can just say from our experience in Champaign-Urbana, we made our interns do a lot of different things, but I certainly, in talking to them, I definitely would agree that the experience of interviewing both family members and people that they may know, just as an example, one time we had an intern who interviewed someone who she'd kind of seen around town. She'd seen him have meetings, but she never really had the chance to really talk about to him and find out who he was. So that opportunity really meant a lot to her. So it's something where it has both an impact on that particular individual, and it's also contributing to something larger. So it has both the individual and the collective benefit. So yeah, I mean, interviews are absolutely wonderful. So yeah, thank you. Jessica, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
I guess I'm not sure how much this relates, but when you were talking about history selling, I'm actually working for Johnson Publishing Company right now, and we are reorganizing their photograph collection, so it's 4,000 linear feet worth of history. And it's funny working in a corporate archive because I've traditionally worked in cultural heritage archives before, and what they really want to do with their archive is highlight what they can actually make money off of. But at the same time, they end up preserving a lot of African American history as well. And it's not an archive that would be open for research or anything, but it's interesting how that gets preserved at the same time as, what they're really going to make money off of, because plenty of couples can send in wedding photos
growing laundry list of reasons. Some of the benefits of digital local and family history. And I actually don't have on this list the bottom line argument, although I probably should. But these are just some of the topics that we've kind of developed collectively through this workshop series we've been doing throughout the spring. We have, of course, this intergenerational transfer of knowledge, strengthening ties, holistic mental health in the sense that everyone's history is valued, bridging the digital divide, staying connected to our communities and our roots, strengthening community, family and personal identity, education, of course, lifelong learning, storytelling. People can share their stories and communicate them and know that those stories will be saved. Fascination with finding out where we've been and who's been where we've been before. We know that, especially you who work in public libraries probably know that people love researching the history of their house. People love knowing who's lived in their house before. And they especially like knowing if there's been any ghosts sighted in their house.
Or if it's burned down.
Yeah. But so let's I'd love to let's throw out some more ideas. What language can we use to market or make this idea something that people are going to take and see? Oh yeah, I see why you'd want to do this. This isn't just some boring old stuff.
I just was thinking when you talk about so many people in Chicago, the houses are not there anymore. I mean, and how, and missing opportunities. So I think it would be really important for now for people to begin to document homes, because one of the issues that we have in Chicago was that people are leaving their homes, people are getting relocated. 20 years ago, if you told us the public housing would not be along the State Street corridor, we would not have believed you. And now there's nothing. And many people, that was their base. So I think one of the things that and with people losing their homes and people's houses getting knocked down, in terms of how do you connect your roots? I mean, you don't have the physical.
Yeah.
So I think it is important for her to begin to maybe think about even documenting that basic kind of things, because it might not be here. There's some communities where people have had homes, and their families for 50 and 75 and 100 years. And how do you look at it in an urban setting, which, there's a lot of transient kind of things happening.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I know people who talk about historic preservation of buildings. There's been one project I know of that it kind of predates the diffusion of digital technology, but they were documenting the earliest African American community in Los Angeles, and most of the buildings had completely disappeared. So they actually used art and murals to kind of do historic reconstruction of what that neighborhood looked like, using art and murals to communicate how that neighborhood kind of was felt and experienced by people who lived there, even though the structures no longer exist. And I imagine that if they did that project now, they'd probably be doing more with digital technology and maybe even do something where like you could do a three-dimensional rendering of what a structure looked like and project that for some kind of special event. The possibilities are really, we could do a lot to ensure that we honor the legacies of people who may have been displaced from their homes. And yeah, that's a great point.
I want to bring up a couple of things that are very humble but super effective. One of them has already been mentioned. That's the yearbooks. The first yearbook project that we did, where we did Champaign-Urbana, was we did Pike County, which is one of the lowest income counties, super rural counties with hardly any broadband in western Illinois, and it was the same kind of thing. High school students digitizing yearbooks in the after hours at their high school and using the copier machine and following the instructions of the school librarian. And not only did they put that on places like Picasa and Flickr, but somebody then, different people picked it up, and it ended up in a bunch of places on the web and captured so much attention that then some for-profit company grabbed it and is now selling that yearbook. And the librarian sent it to me and said, I said, what do you think of this? And he said, well, I really don't mind them doing it. It's just more publicity for us. So the yearbooks just take you to so many people, and they take you to the history of migration, because you can go back and you can see, wow, all these faces are changed. That's what happens in high school. The other thing that's very humble, that makes an important point, postcards. Also in Pike County, we gathered up 6 historical photographs, and we worked through the print shop at the U of I, but you could do this through a local print shop. Printed up postcards that talked about 6 historical aspects of the community. And I think you got this Sesquicentennial of Arlington. Postcards are really, low-cost way for people to participate in their own community's heritage, and it's a way for stores to make some money. So it's really a way of doing cultural heritage tourism in a sense, which helps communities promote their history and stay afloat, up to and including something like the publisher who publishes a lot of history, whose name is escaping me right now, but if you do these little projects, then you build yourself up to the capacity of being able to do one of those publishers.
Yeah, I think that's Arcadia Press.
Arcadia Press is really interested in doing these historical, picture history books, really is what they are. But I don't think we can separate print from digital, is one of my points.
Yeah, no.
The postcards and the Arcadia books really fit with digital history projects.
Yeah, let me just, I kind of skipped over this, but I just wanted to a slide, an analytics of visitors to the eBlackCU website over about a 1.5 year period. And these two big spikes we see here was when we really successfully combined the digital library with face-to-face communication. So the first spike correlates when we had our campus community symposium where a few hundred people came throughout 2 days to talk about different issues around campus community relations and broadband. And then the second big spike was when we had an article in the local newspaper about a U-book digitization project. So, I mean, what we really found, and I'm sure this is something that other people have experienced as well, is when you combine digital and face-to-face, that's really when sparks fly and people's attention gravitates to what you're trying to do. We're running out of time. I wanted to mention one other project. If you're looking for something more for family history, something more intimate, maybe you don't want to actually do a big digital library, another tool that you can take a look at is this site called 1000 Memories. They actually have a partnership with the Internet Archive. So you can upload the material to Internet Archive, and it will be preserved by the Internet Archive, and that's the largest online digital archive in the world. So this is something more oriented towards personal and family. So this is something where if you'd like to, if you maybe have a shoebox full of old photographs and you'd like to make those online so you can send those to aunts or nephews around the country, and you also want to make sure that it's going to have some degree of you can ensure that the material will remain accessible into the future. 1000 Memories, I think, is another good site to take a look at if you're looking for a smaller scale project. We just have 2 minutes left. I've tried to cover more than would really fit into this hour. And I really loved hearing what everyone had to say. So let's just go around the room what we have left, and I want to hear something that you take away from today, something that you may think about implementing based on what we've talked about today. So Tom, do you want to start?
My project definitely needs to get out into the Chicago Jewish community more and try to strategize with the digital divide aspect of our separation from a lot of the senior citizens that would be interested in this project. So that's something to think about.
Okay, Paulo?
Definitely taking a look at that side. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm going to take away from this, and take a look at it and how can we use it in our institution, especially in a university-based institution.
Well, I'm going to take the Northeast to actually get out in the community, not just stay in the cubicle, but that's where the stories come from. We get out there and talk to people.
Yeah, it's made me think about the rationalization I can use to convince social service organizations to try to digitize, because right now you're dealing with grants that are cut, salaries are not being paid, so and uncertain organizational climate you see. So I mean, this is almost like a promotional activity, where you do it, then but I just need to make the connection to the function of the organization, the need for administrators to use this network.
Personally, I'm glad that at Arlington Heights we have a lot of people who kind of done the advanced work and made good ties into the community through other projects. So I think we're going to be well placed for for Alex and others to build on that. Also, I love the idea of creating postcards and distributing those. It's kind of cool.
Been talking about and maybe just getting young people to start connecting with their own personal family, or there's someone in the community they've been admiring like that they could have an interview with and document that. I think a lot of times and get them to look at computers maybe in a different kind of way.
And I would encourage you, Mrs. Robinson, as well. The one thing I mentioned that if you're kind of intimidated by digital libraries or anything like that, you can, something simple as just burning that interview on a DVD and depositing that DVD at the public library. That's something that's somewhat low tech, but even that is going to make a big impact.
So I said I was working for Johnson, but I actually volunteer at the Chicago Rewrite Library. I don't know if you guys have heard of that library, but we are really invested in connecting communities, and I would really like to do a series of workshops and bring families in to talk about how to preserve their own family histories, and maybe in a big picture, like partner with a university or something, get a grant to like really get that going under our roofs.
I think I'm going to take away the same thing as he said, the website of my head, but also it's just that I realize that there are a lot of associations like the Moy family or like the Lee family, and they don't use any of this technology. So they're just standing there in front of just singing and just doing karaoke or stuff like that, and just have a whole bunch of wine and drinks, and it would be really helpful if they actually put a picture somewhere. None of them actually utilize this, so I'm definitely going to take this back to the branch, Chinatown branch, and just start, talking to people, continue to make more flyers, and try to translate them to the best of my ability.
Well, like a lot of other people in Mecca, is something I think we're definitely going to be taking a look at. I also really like the idea of having the recognition event in a community like Naperville that could accomplish so many goals, even just beyond this. One of the other things that I think that we have a different take on I shouldn't say different take on local history, but we have an incredibly vibrant heritage society in Naperville. The Naper Settlement and the Naper Museum is incredible, and what they collected is just unreal. We're looking to actually kind of do almost more local current history. And one of the areas that we really need to reach out to is the immigrant community of Naperville, which is huge, but it's very, very recent. And unlike a city like the size of Chicago, where there's a definite kind of sense of community amongst those people in the neighborhood, it's dispersed across Naperville. And so to kind of get back to one of the things you asked earlier about what are the benefits of something like this, almost creating more of a sense of cohesion amongst a sub-community, not just the community.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because both the eBoxU project and a project in Amsterdam that went and collected the history of colonial people who now live in Amsterdam. Amsterdam isn't white anymore. It's all different ethnicities because of colonialism. Social justice needs to get on that list, because it's one of the things that it's accomplished when you go out and collect more historical material and digitize it.
Yeah, so one of the benefits of being a moderator is that I get to have the final word.
I was reminded that it's time for the final word.
Okay. So, I think that point is really well taken, and I think I wanted to kind of say that by framing a project in that way, I think we can go to address Adrian's point about history and heritage kind of being seen as this bourgeois thing, where it's kind of distant and alienating. So with digital technology being used responsibly by people who want to make a difference, we can not only change the future of the past, we can also change how people see the past and see themselves in relation to larger histories in which their families and their communities have had a part. So thank you all for your time, and I hope to hear back from you in a year, if not sooner. My email is on all the flyers, so feel free to email me with any success stories or struggles, and I'd be happy to
research and write, but he also has done workshops all over the Midwest.
Yeah,
So,
and if you can make it down, our last one is going to be in Carbondale, May 19th, so you're welcome to attend. If that's, take the train down.
That's 6 hours from here.
but we're almost ready to send deputies. He's almost ready to send deputies out